name is Javan DeVore, and I am the operations manager for Metropolitan Fresh Start House, and I'm also the co-founder of Fresh Start 2. That's who I am.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. DeVore. With that, we'd just like to thank you again for joining us today, Mr. DeVore. Just to start off, Higher Words is all about sharing stories, and we want to know more about you and your story. Can you tell us a little bit about your story and the inspiration for the work of the Metropolitan Fresh Start House?
Sure. I joined the organization Metropolitan Fresh Start House back in October of last year. I've done some work with the program over the years, but I officially came on board as a staff member, as operations manager, and worked with the company up until now. The company was founded by my uncle, Kenwood DeVore, back in 1989. And his inspiration for wanting to start the program in this organization was to help men who are broken, specifically veterans, individuals that have laid their life down on the line for their country, come out of the military and find themselves in a situation where they're in dire straits. Some of them have been incarcerated, some of them have drug abuse issues, things of that nature. And so the organization was started and founded on the premise of taking these individuals that are broken and helping them become men again, so that they're productive members of society. My father, who is a program director, Sam DeVore, is a veteran and actually went through the program himself because he had substance abuse issues early on. And now he has turned his life around and is an instrumental member with the program. So after joining the program, working with the program over a few years, and then officially joining the program last year, I was inspired to start my own program. And so we are a nonprofit, a spinoff, if you will, of the sister company of Metropolitan Fresh Start House. We are Fresh Start 2, TOO. And all we're looking to do with our program is to take the amazing foundation that was laid by Metropolitan Fresh Start House and then build on that. And how we're building on it is that it's just scale. We're doing the same thing, but just to much a larger extent. So we will have a deeper impact on the community because we're going to be able to affect more people. Sheer numbers. California has the highest population of homeless veterans of any state in the United States. They actually, the nearest state to California is Florida at 4,000. We're at almost 11,000. So our goal is to make a dent in that homeless population and do what we can to turn those lives around so these individuals can be productive members of society. And I feel honored and privileged to be a part of a program that has that type of impact on not just individuals, but when you have that type of impact on those individuals, you then also impact the community at large because of what they're now going to be able to do now that they're productive members of society.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story and also your father's inspiring story. I think that, oftentimes those who suffer from drug or alcohol addictions, they're often neglected from mainstream society. And I think that programs, nonprofits, and any sort of support that is offered to those people is always going to be beneficial in the long run. So from everyone at Higher Words, we definitely appreciate you coming on here and helping us out. So I'm just going to transition a little bit into the second question. So one of the great initiatives of MFSH currently is that they provide relocation assistance and support through faith-based therapy to veterans who have been dislocated. Can you speak more to how this work has really empowered local communities across the Bay Area?
Well, as I alluded to earlier, these individuals that come into our program, I'll take a step back. The road to recovery, complete recovery for the veterans that find themselves in a situation where they're needing assistance there are three parts to it, okay? The first part is a recovery center, which is what Metropolitan Fresh Start House is. So we take individuals that have recently been incarcerated or released from incarceration, so they have nowhere to go, or you have people that were just living on the streets, okay? And in probably 95% of those situations, there is some type of substance abuse associated with that. Not all the time, but the majority of the time. But after they go through the recovery part of the recovery program that we have, once they go through that, they then have to go to what's called a transitional house because they're not quite ready to be where they want to be, their end goal. So there's a transition, and then after the transition, there is permanent housing. So during that process, we're working with them in terms of their behavioral health, their mental health, relationships with their family, with friends. And as we do that, and as they start making progress, then we start to implement other programs. So we have workshops on how to just basic things like Microsoft, working with the computers. How do you conduct yourself on an interview? There's schooling. We provide free schooling depending on what they want to do. So we are a liaison, if you will, also in terms of helping them how to navigate where they want to go for their next step as they are on that road to recovery, complete recovery. So as we help them with that and help them identify exactly where they want to go and what they want to do, we then provide them with the resources and tools to be able to accomplish that, okay? Once they have enrolled and they're on that road, then they might go from the recovery house or center where we are to a transitional center. And then from the transitional center to permanent housing. And all along the way, the person that was broken, the person that needed help, they're receiving what they need to be a complete person, whole, and feeling good about themselves. And what's interesting about this process and what happens is that, as I mentioned earlier and alluded to earlier, it affects the community, but how it affects the community is that it affects their family. Because when they're in that broken state, the people that are most affected are the ones that are closest to them, and then by extension, the community. So once they start to mend that and they're on that road to recovery, those relationships are also mended, okay? And then by the time they work through that whole process, and now they've come full circle, and we've completed the conversation where you went from being homeless, addicted to drugs or alcohol, to being completely clean and sober, to enrolling in school, or working, because we have job placement as well. So job placement, schooling, education, all of that, and then also helping them with the resources that are available to them through the VA. The VA, it can be very intimidating because there's so many different departments and there's so many different things. And for someone that I just need help and I don't know where to go and I don't know who to talk to or where to turn, we help them navigate through that whole process. So by the time they get through the recovery center, through the transitional housing, their education or job placement, they would have come full circle. That man is now a completely different man who enrolled into our program from day one. They now are not just a productive member of society, which is very important, but now they are a father, a real father. They are a real brother. They are a real son, because what they were emitting and the way that they were portraying themselves was not it wasn't who they really were. And so what we've done with our program and with our process is help them and allow them to be able to show who they really are, right? And then in doing that, now we have the real person. We have the real Javan. We have the real Jared. We have the real Mahir. This is the real person who I really am. And I want to show you guys, I want to show the world what I can do and how I can contribute. What also is very interesting is that people that go through this process, they find themselves wanting to give back. They want to give back because they know where they've come from. They know the struggle and how difficult it was. And to see their life turn around in the way that it has. And now they're like, you know what? If I can do it, the next man can do it. Matter of fact, I'm going to help the next man do it. So it is a really beautiful process to watch it happen firsthand. And I'll tell you that it wasn't until I became a staff member of Metropolitan Fresh Start House. I kind of knew the process and how it worked, but it wasn't until I started working with the program hands-on. I gotta go to work later on today, but hands-on, that to see that whole metamorphosis, to see it happen right before your eyes, it's touching and it moves you. And when that happens, it makes your heart warm, and you're like, you know what? I got to work even harder. So I have to say that of all the things I've ever done, and I've done a lot of different things in my working career, being a part of this nonprofit and helping these individuals that are in need of help is by far the most rewarding thing I've ever been a part of. And that's why I'm very, very passionate about it. And that's why I looked at the program and saw, okay, what can we do? What can I do using my talents and gifts and abilities that have been given to me to take this program to the next level? I can't make it better, but I can make it bigger. And that's what we're doing so that we can impact more lives.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think for like me personally, it's remarkable to like for you to even like detail how these individuals' lives takes like such a 180 turn with the support with MFSH, and it's incredible just to see like what support and empowerment to people can do and like what it can result to. And as you mentioned, like this impact is priceless ultimately. Yeah, and like funding like, these types of great initiatives of any nonprofit organizations requires a lot of like moral as well as like financial support. And I know that looking at MFSH as well as like you mentioned Fresh Start too, I'm assuming they require like a bunch of donations and financial support.
Yeah.
Can you speak more to like some of the financial challenges that MFSH and Fresh Start 2 have had to overcome in order to provide this type of effective support to veterans and local communities?
That is actually a great question, and it's a hot topic within our organization because there's no shortage of ability or options that are out there. Let's say it that way. Options that are out there for you in terms of support, free money, donations. I come from a sales background and commission-based compensation, and there was an expression we used to use in that arena, and that is you never leave dollars on the table. And basically what that means is that if someone's putting something on the table for you to take advantage of it. Let's not let it be because you weren't aware, you didn't do the research, and you didn't find out what was there for you to take and use for yourself. So one of the challenges, and not just with our program, with any program, is really being aware of everything that's available to you. And there is a lot available. So that requires a lot of research, that requires dedicated time. And truthfully speaking, Metropolitan Fresh Start House really didn't do a good job of that until I joined. And it's not that I'm some great person or anything like that. What it is that I just made it a point to devote specific time to that. And once we did that, we were able to procure. Our procurement is so much better. We get donations for food. We spend anywhere from $800 to $1,000 a month for our one program just in food. I was able to cut that in half. And that's just by going to the Safeways and the Costco's of the world and saying, hey, we are a nonprofit. Here's our EIN. Here's a letter, a laminated letter statement. What can you do to help us? We come to your store and we will purchase, but what can you do to donate and help us? Because we're taking homeless veterans off the street. Okay, so for crying out loud, what can you do to help us, right? And so then what they do is they're like, oh, well, that being said, for every purchase you make, 30% discount and this, that, and the other. And then we'll also just donate. So once a month, you can come to our warehouse and we'll donate. So giving dedicated effort to the options that are available to you has been hugely impactful to us, because we don't make a lot of money. We're a nonprofit. We're not commercial. We're not, but it is a business at the same time. We have staff, got to pay them salaries, right? And we have things that need to be paid for. So in this environment in which we live, you need dollars. And the more that we can make our dollars stretch, the more impactful we can be, and we can operate through the whole life cycle of Metropolitan Fresh Start House. There's been a huge learning curve, right? The program made some mistakes in the past and found themselves in situations where, okay, we don't have a place to be. We're having issues with food. We're having issues with that. So coming up and putting together a process and a program to where we can make our dollars stretch further by taking advantage of the amazing companies that exist in the Bay Area that are willing to help. They just need to know who you are and what kind of help you need. And that has kind of been what I have really been out there, just really publicizing and letting folks know, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. Anything you can do to help us is appreciated and will go a long way. And once that is presented and these companies understand that, they don't hesitate. It's like, here. But if there's not a person designated to do that, they don't know, which then means you don't get. So simply put, one of the many hats that I wear, and I wear a lot of them, right? It's a good thing I don't have any hair, but I wear a lot of hats, and it allows me to do that piece, which then allows Fresh Start to operate a bit more efficiently and save money where we can.
Yeah, that's really remarkable, especially considering what you mentioned at the beginning of your response was that it's truly remarkable that organizations, like large-scale organizations like a Costco or a Safeway, can really empower smaller scale organizations such as MFSH. Thinking about that type of impact that can happen between different organizations in society and how together we're all uplifting people, individuals who have suffered in society, who may be disadvantaged or under-resourced in society, we are striving to uplift them. And I guess in considering this idea of uplifting others and empowering others, Higher Rewards in and of itself strives to empower others with our credit card service, which basically financially empowers nonprofits such as potentially MFSH through a 2% cashback program. So could you speak more to how this type of a program could potentially bolster the efforts and the outreach of your nonprofit?
So I thought long and hard about that. I received the questions not long ago, but this is something that I thought about a lot because I've had conversations with Jared about this. And I think what really you need to do is you need to think outside the box a little bit. And I know that's an overused expression, but you really have to think in terms of, okay, how could this potentially work? Okay. And then once you identify how it can work, then you need to communicate that. Communication is the key to any great relationship, right? Platonic, romantic, it doesn't matter. You have to communicate and articulate what it is that you need so that people then can be in a position to do what they need to do to help. So one of the things that I thought about was the vendors that we work with. We work with a lot of different vendors that truly, truly embrace and believe in what we do. So if you tell the story, and it's got to be a short, concise story, that gets directly to the point and what the features are, the overall features, and how those features translate to benefits, right? This is what it is, but this is what it does, okay? And so we have vendors that we work with that truly believe in what Fresh Start does, the impact that we have on the community at large and families and individuals. So going to those vendors and saying, hey, we have this credit card that if you use it the way you would just normally take care of your normal, things that you take care of, paying your bills, getting groceries, paying for gas, the things that you do anyway. Do you realize that you could do those things and then benefit this nonprofit that takes care of homeless veterans? If the story is told in that way, maybe a little bit more polished than what I just said, but told in that way, they do it. They would do it. They would participate. So the many different vendors that we work with, and then you also talk about the staff, right? So you have staff that they got to live, right? I go out and I pay my bills and I do my errands and whatever. You use the credit card too, because you're paying for these services and these things anyway. Why not do it in a way where it benefits the organization that employs you, right? That then turns around and helps these veterans that are homeless. So between the vendors that we work with, and that's a it's very broad. It is so broad, right? And that broad vendor base continues to grow, because as I go out and I speak with different companies that want to participate and help and be a part of, that's a new opportunity. Oh, by the way, there's a credit card. If you decide to do this, in addition to your donation, in addition to whatever else that is that they're doing in our relationship, if you decide to choose to use this credit card, this is how you also can further benefit Metropolitan Fresh Start House. So if you understand what it is that Higher Rewards has to offer and how it benefits our program, then that is something that would be a part of what I do. And then I train others to do the same thing when they're out and about and doing, whatever it is that they do. Tell the story, be very concise and short, but make sure that you hit the really important bullet points and give these individuals an opportunity to say, hey, I'd like to participate in that because it's for a good cause. And I think that in doing that, it would have a tremendous impact with our sphere, the individuals that we deal with on a regular basis. And as we grow that, including those individuals as well.
Yeah, that is just so impactful. You know that I'm a huge fan of the work that Fresh Start 2 is doing, and how they're really using their skill set just to bring people from one place and taking them somewhere completely different.
Right.
I want to know just a little bit more. We're pressing up on time here, but I wanted to talk about just some of the people who were in the program. They started at ground zero, in some cases -5, and now they're up to 15.
Mm-hmm.
Now earlier you were talking about, now they're looking back and they're saying, what can I do? How can I give back? I wanted to see if is there a nexus there? Is there what type of involvement have you seen them come back and do? Is there an opportunity for them as well as with the vendors?
Yes, the short answer is yes, and there is an opportunity. And how they then turn around and give back is there's a few different ways. One of the ways that happens is they become employees. They want to work for the program, right? I like to be a counselor. I like to, because I've lived it. I'm a veteran, and I was homeless, and I was addicted to alcohol. I had some substance abuse issue, and I went through the program. And because I made the choice and decision to follow the program, it worked for me, and my life is so much better now. And uh, I'm not a veteran, and I've never been addicted to drugs. So even though I can make some really good points, and because I'm a salesman, I can make it sound a certain way. Um, I don't have the impact. I don't. I don't have the impact that a person has that has gone through it. They know what it's like to let their family member down one more time. They know what it's like to fail one more time. And to be able to speak on that level is so, so impactful. Okay. Now, to your point, Jared, it's all about different individuals have their own sphere of influence. So I don't know this guy and who he knows, right? But because he believes so much in our program and what we're doing, and then he then knows about higher rewards, he's going to speak to the individuals that he knows and the organizations that he knows and say, hey, this is a way. Yeah, we have donations, and you can donate property, money, and this, that, and the other, or time for your employees. But this is another way you can donate, is to take this credit card, have this credit card, and use it in your everyday life, and then be able to get them and convince them that this is something that they want to present to other organizations and other individuals that they know. So it's the proverbial domino effect, right? Each person that goes through the program and they have their success, they are a living success story. And how they give back is their time, their energy, the effort, but also, hey, this is a way, right? So what Higher Rewards has really done for us is given us another vehicle to give back. Okay. People are always looking for ways. What can I do? How can I help? Well, guess what? You just made those questions easier to answer with Higher Rewards. Here's how you can help. Here's what you can do. And we educate them. So what I do is, because I understand how Higher Rewards works and what the features are to the program, and then how those features translate to benefits, then I would then be the one to articulate and train other individuals that want to be able to share that same story so they can participate as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Javan, for your insightful, detailed, and comprehensive responses. I think all of us here in our audience have learned a lot. And with that, we'd love to open up the floor for a question and answer session. So I'd ask that if you have a question, please use the raise your hand button in the Zoom participants, and then I will call on you.
While it's happening, I just want to say that we're very proud to be working with you, Javan, and working with individuals just like yourself. That is why we exist. Literally on the front page of our website, as you know, we are here to empower those who are already dedicating themselves to others, who are already out there making a difference and bringing people up. And you are exemplary in that.
Well, thank you. Real quick, I'm not sure if somebody has a question, but I'll just to piggyback off what you said, Jared. I appreciate you guys appreciating us, but this is a relationship. And what I have come to appreciate in life and in business is creating and establishing good relationships, because when you do, you're able to accomplish great things. I knew nothing about Higher Rewards prior to you bringing it to my attention, right? And how Higher Rewards can actually have an impact on what we do. And then there's the proverbial domino effect, and how it then benefits and helps the program. And the program, if it's benefited, then how it benefits people. And that's what we're all about. So you guys, even though you don't work for our nonprofit, you are an integral part of what we do. So we're basically partners, right? So you can kind of hang your head high and know that you're having a very, very huge impact on people that need help. So I just think, I personally think, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Javan, for another, uh, comprehensive response. I think something that I wrote down just now in my notes about this conversation was in life and in business, good partnerships and good relationships mean the world. And I think that's just something that I'm going to take from this conversation for my future. And thank you for speaking to that. So we have a few questions now.
Sure.
I'm going to call on Sadhna to ask her question to you.
Okay.
Hi. So my question is, could you tell me about the most difficult financial challenge your nonprofit has faced and how you overcame that challenge?
So our nonprofit, the way we receive the majority of our money is based on the number of clients that we have enrolled in our program. So people that are in our program, we call them clients, okay? But the number of clients that we have, it's a moving target because there are 3 ways you cannot be a client of ours any longer. The first way that you cannot be a client is because you would not comply to house rules and what we say you need to do to be a part of our program. That's the first way you cannot be a client. The second way you cannot be a client is that you just on your own said, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm out. The third way that a person cannot be a client is that they graduate. They actually go through the program and they're successful and they're ready to move on to the next level. Because we're a nonprofit, our income, the 98, 99, we'll even say 99% of our income is directly related to how many clients we have enrolled in our program. So on any given day, we're supposed to have 18 clients for our program, our location, but we might be down to 12. We might be down to 10, right? And when that number dips like that, that has a direct and immediate impact on the income that comes in. That income that comes in has a direct and immediate impact on how we operate. So what the first thing that I recognized was that, and that was a huge gaping hole and an opportunity to improve. So what I immediately did was institute a process to where the communication between Metropolitan Fresh Start House and the VA was better. It was quicker, so that we can then turn around and those individuals, for any one of those 3 reasons, left the program, we replaced them very quickly. Because as I mentioned and I stated earlier, we're a nonprofit and we have all these wonderful aspirations in terms of what we're trying to do, but at the end of the day, it's still a business and we have bills to pay. And if we can't pay our bills, then we can't do what we do. So we had to find a way to where we could overcome that challenge of the volatility and that moving target of people just coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. We had to have something in place to where that was rectified very quickly. And fortunately, I was able to do that.
Yeah, Sadhna tells me that answered her question very completely. So we have another question from the audience from Chino. So Chino, take it away.
I'm just wondering about how your process of empowering homeless veterans differed from other nonprofit organizations with similar goals.
Good question. Because I didn't know the answer to that question either until I started. As I mentioned earlier on in this discussion, I've been a part of the program for years, but it wasn't until last year that I became a staff member as an operations manager. And in doing that, just my personality, I like to know what field I'm playing in. I like to know what else is going on. So what I did was I did some research on other programs, okay, that do the same thing. So we are a recovery center. And so I did research on other recovery centers. And what I found in my research, and what separates our program from other programs, is that we really, really treat the whole person. So I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you're broken, and God forbid that ever happened to you, but if you're broken, you need top to bottom help and assistance. That means that we need to be so granular in our approach, so granular that we pay attention to the programs you watch on television. We pay attention to using obscenities or not. We pay attention to some of the finer details, because those finer details make a blueprint for the overall picture, right? So the other programs, they don't do that. You go to those programs and it's loosey-goosey. You got guys in there, they're actually doing things that they did on the street in the program. We're so strict when it comes to that. And I don't know if strict is a good word, because a lot of times people attach negative connotations to that word. But, when you do certain things, then come repercussions for those things. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to help this person heal. We're trying to help them on their road to complete recovery. So what separates our program from other programs is that it is a faith-based program. My faith is different from the faith of the founder of the program, but it doesn't matter, because the principles are all the same. Here are the principles. We don't swear. We don't watch violent programs. We don't promote violence. Everything that we do is positive. Now, whether you have a spiritual nature to yourself or not, I think you'll find that those are positive things that that's a common theme, right? If we are all striving to eradicate this substance abuse that you had, we're trying to help you to grow and strive to be a better person, and we're doing all the things along the way to allow you to get there. We say it's faith, you might say it's something else, but who cares what you call it if we end up being where we want to be? So that's very important. We screen our staff, and there are times when we recognize the staff is not on the same page with us. So we let them go. We let them go. It's important that staff members, as well as the clients that are a part of our program, we are all moving in the same direction. If ever we find that that is not the case, we will let a client go, even if we need that the dollars that they bring in, doesn't matter. We let them go. If the staff member is not on board, we let them go, because it is so important and integral to the success of that client that everybody, the atmosphere, the relationships at the program, the interactions with our staff, be consistent every step of the way. And if we identify that there is a blockage, an impediment of any sort, we rectify it immediately, because we know that has an impact on the progress and the success of the client. It's counterproductive if we got somebody working for us that is watching porn while he's supposed to be working, that doesn't want to do anything but just sign people in and out. We require every staff member to do one-on-ones with the clients. Look at this man in his eye and ask him, how you doing? Is everything okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? I'm here for you. And if at any point we recognize that a staff member is not on that level, we let them go and we replace them. Because that is a huge part of the recovery process that has to happen and has to take place.
Yeah, I think I wholeheartedly agree, and I think I could speak on behalf of the Higher Rewards team that um, your vision for how to approach this entire, ordeal that you have going on with MFSH, it's really being put to good action. And I think your action always speaks louder than your words, as we've all known. And I think the actions of MFSH and what they're doing um, to really help homeless veterans is amazing.
Thank you.
So yeah, we have one more question.
Okay.
It's from an audience member who can't come on video right now.
That's fine.
But this audience member's question is, given the current world's state with COVID-19 and the ongoing fight for civil rights in America, has your program seen a rise in outreach and support, or has it been more difficult to make a difference due to these unprecedented circumstances?
More difficult. It's more difficult because what you're doing is, or what's happening as a result of the current state of affairs in the world right now is what we were doing before any of this surfaced was already challenging, and now you layer it. Now, having said that, I didn't say it was impossible. I didn't say it couldn't be done. I just said it's more difficult. So what that has required is for us to have more group huddles. And what I mean by that is for staff members, the executive team to get together on a even more, we did it anyway, but to get together on a more consistent basis to strategize, to have the tough conversations, to implement things that ahead of time. There's a philosophy and a way of thinking that I totally adopt is look at the disaster before it happens, right? Look at what could potentially happen before it happens so that you can implement some things to mitigate that. So we really try to adopt that way of thinking, and we look at the current state of affairs with the COVID-19, the shelter in place, and what you need to do to protect yourselves and others. We look at people's position and stance on racial equality and things of that nature. We got to be careful because you have people from different backgrounds. I mean, I got guys in my facility, they wear camouflage and they tote guns and they believe shoot first and we'll figure the rest out later. That's just how they are. And that was prior to them going to the military, right? And then they were trained professionally to do this. So I have had to have myself, and I've kind of educated other staff members on what we need to do to have these conversations so that we can break through these barriers, because they can be broken through. And so we have the tough conversations respectfully. We probably listen more than we talk because that's very therapeutic. But we don't dance around the issues. We don't dance around what's in front of us that needs to be addressed, because that does not do anything to improve the situation. We have to address it, and we have to come to some sort of, okay, here's what we're going to do. And even though, and I want to be very clear on this, and I love this one point, when we make a decision on what to do, is fluid, meaning that, we make this decision now, we may change it based on how things have changed. So nothing is etched in stone. There are no egos. Nobody thinks they know everything. Our common goal and theme is so that we can have success with the recovery of our clients and providing them with what they need to be successful. So if that means we make a decision today and how we do things, but then we change it next week, then that's what we do. And we share that with the client, and they appreciate that, because we're all looking at the ultimate goal. And that is for us to be successful. That is for us to achieve the goals that we have in life. And if that means that we gotta jump over a few hurdles and change a few things and do things differently than we thought the way things should be done, we're gonna do that, because it allows us to accomplish our goal. And I think that's a beautiful point that was articulated to me, that I turn around and share with other staff members and also with the clients in the house.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to come on a Zoom conversation today. We know that circumstances are, challenging and difficult with COVID-19 and racial injustices in America, but we appreciate you taking the time once again to come on. We'd like to thank Mr. DeVore for sitting down with us and having this conversation. We hope that his story and MFSH's values and mission inspire you all. We encourage everyone to continue supporting their local communities and empowering those who have been countlessly dedicating themselves to others. We appreciate you tuning in to Mr. DeVore's story, as well as all of your insightful questions and commentary. You can learn more about MFSH and their work at www.metropolitanfreshstart.org. And then finally, Higher Awards is all about sharing these types of stories with our audience and the world, and empowering local communities and uplifting other nonprofits and religious organizations. So if you wish to learn more about Higher Awards and how we work to financially empower and uplift these organizations and these people and these communities, please visit www.higherawards.com to learn more and maybe sign up for early access to our financial services. In closing, we are sending you all love, health, and happiness during these unprecedented times. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you, Mr. DeVore, for taking the time.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Signing off.